depression, anxiety, and suicide. So what I want you guys to know is that you can ask questions at any time, but please raise your hand. And if I don't call on you right away, I promise that I will get to you, but I just want to finish my point. Does everybody agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. All right, some of you guys may remember from last time, you know I talk about the brain a lot. And your brain is going through a beautiful, beautiful growth spurt right now between, who can remember the ages of your growth spurt from last time? Can anybody remember? Your adult brain starts growing at what age?
13 to 25.
13 to 25? You are almost there. Actually, it's between 11, 12, and 24. Can you guys give these guys a round of applause? Very good. This is when your adult brain is growing. And it's so important to know this information so that you can keep your brain really safe so that it stays on and completely grows so that when you are an adult, you have your fully formed adult brain. Now, this entire process is governed by a very specific theory. That theory is called use it or lose it. Absolutely. What this means is that your brain will form long strings of neuronal connections. When I say neuronal, what is a neuron? Yes.
That has to do with the brain. Neuron.
A neuron is another word for?
It's electrical cells.
It's a brain cell. Absolutely. Could you give these guys a round of applause? And so let me show you what a baby brain cell, otherwise known as a neuron, looks like. Here is a neuron. This is a microscope that looks at these little bitty tiny brain cells in our brain. What do you think? Isn't it cute? Baby brain cells? Oh, right, doesn't it? It looks like it has roots, doesn't it? Like a little seed you can plant in the ground.
It looks like a tree from like the movie Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, well, wow, that's very creative. Yeah. Do you think it's kind of lonely?
Yeah.
Yeah, should we give it some friends?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, so here's what it looks like when it's starting to grow. Baby neurons reaching out to other neurons, and as the brain grows and develops, that cell starts to reach out to more and more cells and makes connections. Isn't that cool? It's like the roots are really taking root, right? And they're growing and they're reaching out. I want you guys to imagine that you have these long chains of brain cell connections in your brain, and that this is actually the hardware of learning. Do you understand that analogy? Right? This is what it looks like when you learn something new. Is your brain reaches out to another cell and another cell and another cell, and it makes long strings when you learn skills. Did you have a question?
Yeah, the last one kind of looks like art.
I think they all, I don't know. I think it's a beautiful painting right there it is, right? Should we put that on the wall somewhere? A little sketch, absolutely. Here's what it really looks like from the outside in. These are pictures that have been taken of an adolescent as their brain grew and developed over time. Now, remember, this is a healthy adolescent brain. This is what we want our brains to look like as they grow. Yes, sir?
What's in the cornea for?
What's in the... Help me understand the question.
What is the 8? 8 to 5?
8 to 5, right here?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we look, this is somebody when they're 5 years old, picture of their brain, and then all of a sudden, this is fast forward when they grew up to age 8. This is how much their brain grew. And then they fast forward again to age 12. You see how the brain's really starting to grow now? Between ages 11 and 12 is when your adult brain starts to really grow. By 16, that brain is almost halfway there.
Well, I'm 16.
And then your brain hopefully will look like this. Can you see this picture right here? Yeah, and then at age 20, this is, look at the part of your brain that is right here behind your forehead. We know it as the frontal lobe. It's almost completely filled in with all of those connections. Yes, sir?
I have a question. Which of the red, the colors, do they represent positive? Or like, what happens if you have too much of just one color?
Good question, good question. So what this represents, the colors represent gray matter, which is actually the cell connections. Those connections that reach out, right? Okay, so the more blue or purple that you have indicates that you have more connectors, that your brain has grown more. It's not necessarily bad or good, the colors.
Okay.
Yes?
Why is the brain always firing up from age 5 to 8?
Why is the brain always what?
Like as in the brain cells, they're always firing.
Always firing. Because we're alive. As long as you are alive, your brain will fire and fire and fire.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I know, isn't that cool? But as you...
Like all over the brain, because normal people will have a part of the section would be blacked out and some of the sections would be, no, that's not true.
Normal healthy brains, what we want to see is that there is electrical activity flowing all over the brain. We want our brain to be all on and working together, all at the same time. Even when we're sleeping, our brain still fires even when it's at rest. It makes sure that we stay alive and healthy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool information, isn't it?
But doesn't the brain cortex like control your language and speech? So
Yes.
that's like it's sort of like the like if you're sleeping, that's shut off and
No, that's not necessarily shut off, but it's actually just kind of inactive at that moment. There's still electrical activity moving through there because when you dream, sometimes you talk in your dreams, right? And you do that. And the part of your brain that controls your breathing and your heartbeat, those stay on a lot too, right? While you're sleeping. So it's important to remember, can you guys see the part of the brain that's actually growing and developing? The front, exactly. So everybody put their hand on their forehead right here. And everybody say, frontal lobe. Exactly. Do you think you can stay like this all day?
No.
Okay, all right, take your hand off then. So the frontal lobe is actually right here behind your forehead, and it goes about halfway up your skull. And this shows you how that part of the brain is growing and developing over time. And this is what I want you guys to do. I want you to keep that part of your brain really healthy, substance-free. I want you to keep that brain risky behavior-free, because all of those things can interfere with the development of the, what is it called? The what? Frontal lobe. Exactly. There you go. Okay, so this is my favorite brain researcher. His name is Lawrence. And he has a really funny saying. He says that an adolescent's brain has a well-developed accelerator, but only a partially developed brake. He says that. So, do you guys understand that?
Yeah.
You do, yeah? Can you give an example of that?
okay.
Like if you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna say you think way too ahead, but you can't stop.
So you think way too ahead, or maybe you act way too ahead? Has anybody ever said something or did something they regretted later?
Yeah.
A lot of you guys have. Okay, that's actually a really good example. Sometimes our accelerator makes us go do things that we later go, oh, I wish I hadn't have done that and regretted it. I wish I had put on the brake at that period of time. Okay, so what part of the brain do you think Lawrence is referring to when he says the brake? The frontal lobe. Does everybody agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody say frontal lobe! Very good, exactly. That's the part of the brain, that's the brake. And so, the frontal lobes do lots of really good things for you. What is one of the things that your frontal lobe does for you? Yes?
Help you learn.
It helps you learn, exactly. It helps you learn when to say, no, I'm not going to do that. It helps you learn how to make good decisions. It helps you learn really complex adult problem solving. It helps you have empathy for other people.
Yeah.
Does it help you not get in trouble?
It helps you not get in trouble. Now, who can define empathy? Yes.
If somebody is upset
Okay.
and I'm in a good mood, if
Okay.
you feel empathy meaning, I guess you could say sorrow. You feel sorry, or it's not sorry. Empathy gives you the ability to care for them.
Do you guys agree? Do you guys agree with his definition?
Yeah.
Look, they're already giving you a round of applause. Very nice, very nice.
Alex.
Okay, so has anybody actually ever seen a baby when they're smiling?
No.
Yeah,
What?
Have you ever seen a baby when they're smiling? Have you ever seen a baby when they're smiling?
the face twitches up.
Their face goes, "Ee," right? It smiles. What do you do when you see the baby smile?
You smile.
You smile back, exactly. And sometimes you can't even help it, right? It's like you see it's happening and you're smiling.
So adorable.
It's so cute and adorable. What about when a baby is upset and their face like, "Argh," what do?
You do that.
You do that too. Isn't that weird how
I
we
know
do
it's
that?
better
Yeah.
when you see a girl that's cute, you smile. That's what that is, right there. Your brain telling you, and then you're just smiling. You don't even realize it.
Absolutely, exactly. So what's happening in the brain is the frontal lobe, right there behind your forehead, has these really cool mirror neurons. And that get activated. When somebody else is smiling, you smile back. When somebody else is kind of sad, you may have a sad face back, even though you're not sad yourself.
Yeah.
That gives you the ability to feel empathy. And empathy is so important as a human skill. The ability to feel empathy is when you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes and imagine how they might be thinking or feeling, even if you've never gone through what they're going through. So who you guys in here can tell me why feeling empathy is so important as an adult?
Because it helps you get jobs.
Because it helps you get jobs, because you can have empathy for other people. How about how it helps you in relationships?
Your family, your girlfriend, your wife,
Family, girlfriend, wife, husband, daughter, son, all
nephew.
anybody, right? If you can have empathy for other people, then you will treat them with kindness and compassion and respect, right? You won't bully them or be mean to them, right? If you have empathy. Do you guys agree or disagree?
I agree.
You agree? Okay, good. All right. So, your frontal lobe also helps you with impulse control.
Oh.
What is
I
it?
wonder what that is.
Who can name what impulse control is? Yes, sir.
Impulse control is when you get overexcited and you feel like you have an urge to do something and you say no, it's not what I'm supposed to do.
Oh, that's a beautiful example. Did you guys hear that? When you have an urge, like I had an urge this morning to eat the muffins that were full of cream cheese. I had an urge. But I knew that I'm gonna have a big dinner tonight with lots of calories. And so my brain said, no, don't eat the cream cheese muffin. And
It was hard.
it was so hard, but I was able to control my impulse. Yes, sir.
Or your parents could get really mad at you.
Absolutely, exactly.
You're smiling too.
Yes, yes. Has anybody wanted like go get on the computer just like an impulse and you knew you shouldn't?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm grounded for the day. Okay, I'll just
Yeah.
go get on my
Exactly.
computer.
You think, okay, I'm going to be grounded for the day if I do this, so I better not. That's another good example of impulse
Positive and negative,
control.
like pros and cons.
There are pros and cons of that. You don't get immediate gratification. You don't get to do what you want to do in that moment, but in the long term, you stay out of trouble, right? When you control your impulses. What if you were at a party and somebody said, hey, you should drink this alcohol?
No.
You'll be really, really cool if you do.
No.
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because that can ruin your life.
That could ruin your life, right? So do you think it's easier to say no to alcohol than computer time?
Yes.
Depends on the person.
It depends upon the person. Exactly. Very good. Very good. Okay, so you guys, we just ran over brain science. I'm talking a whole lot about what part of the brain?
Frontal
Oh, come on. Can you say that in a way that's like...
Frontal
There we go. Thank you.
Good for that.
We just went over the prefrontal cortex. Now, what does all this brain science have to do about our topic of the day, which is depression and anxiety?
Because the brain,
Hold on. Yes, sir.
You isolate yourself.
You can isolate yourself, but what does that have to do with the
It
brain?
has to do with the brain, meaning the connection of socializing.
Ooh,
Okay, because
since that's what your frontal lobe does, is the
well,
socializing part.
impulse control.
Okay, impulse control.
Addiction.
Yes, sir. What do you think?
Like typing on the phone and stuff like that.
Like typing on the phone and stuff like that may not be very good for social relationships. And if you're doing that too much, maybe you'll get depressed and anxious because you're not engaging with people enough. That's exactly what you were thinking, right? Right. Okay, good. Yes.
Oh yes, another thing is that how it relates to the brain, because your brain controls you, but then when you go out there and think of the bad things, and you're never ever going to get that kind of world and education that you need, and you're going to get stuck in that, and your brain is just going to get false, and you just might kill yourself.
Oh, I love these ideas. Exactly. That you may get so sad and depressed that it leads to thinking about even killing
Your
yourself.
brain, that's all your brain thinks about is saying, do this bad thing, do this bad thing, because that's what it got trained, that's what you trained it to do.
So we need to train our brain to be able to handle depression and anxiety and keep ourselves from doing something impulsive like hurting ourselves.
Yeah, or doing
Yes.
something else that would hurt someone else.
Totally. Okay, can everybody give these guys who participated a round of applause? Very good. I want to show you a picture of a brain of somebody who was depressed and then who went to therapy and got on medication and became recovered from depression. It's really interesting. Now remember, this picture of the brain is looking from the top down, okay? So it's as if we were up above them and looking at their brain from the inside, from the top. Now what you notice on this side is what?
Holes.
It's dark.
It's pretty dark, exactly. So the light in this kind of a brain picture means that there is blood flow and electrical activity moving in that part of the brain. So do we want to see a lot of light on?
Yes.
Yes. If we see a lot of light on, we see the whole brain kind of working together. But in this picture, do we see a lot of light on? No. That means that person is feeling really sad and depressed and maybe even hopeless. And so the brain really slows down its electrical activity. It's just not working at full capacity. But then this person went to therapy and they went to a psychiatrist. They were able to get a medication that worked really well for them. And then they went back and had another picture of their brain taken. And look what happened, you guys. What do you see?
Covering light.
Yes, there's lots more light turned on. What's most important here is, can anybody picture where the frontal lobe is?
It's in the front.
Exactly. And in this picture, it's right here. Look how much light is turned back on in the frontal lobe. Exactly, in the back here too, right? All over the place. But do you see there's not much here, especially in this part of the brain? Now, if this person were an adolescent between the ages of 11 and 25 and their frontal lobe's trying to grow, if the light is not on, if there's no electrical activity or blood flow, does the frontal lobe get to grow like it should? No. Oh, you guys are really perceptive. Exactly, it doesn't. So it's very important if we have depression or anxiety to make sure that we get help for that, especially during adolescence. So that part of the brain can be on and grow the way that it should. Does everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay, if you agree, say frontal lobe. Frontal lobe. Now, does anybody know what anxiety is?
Yeah.
What's anxiety?
Anxiety is like excitement, you know?
Oh, it feels like excitement, doesn't it? What do you think anxiety is?
I don't know what it means, but like I have anxiety over like simple things.
Over simple things. Like, test anxiety. What do you think?
I'll give an example of something
Okay.
that makes me think. When I think of anxiety, makes me think of. Okay, may I think of anxiety?
We're gonna. When you remember, come back and tell us.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Anxiety is kind of like getting nervous and anxious inside, kind of like freaking out and stressing out, building out, and then you don't really like know what to do. Your brain kind of shuts down, and you can like lead to hallucinations and other stuff.
Wow, that's a really good definition. Did you remember?
That's what happened. Is shut down.
The anxiety increased, and you were like, "Oh, I forgot what it is." Yes.
That's the whole 100% reason.
That's the 100% reason. That is so perceptive. Because let me show you what it looks like in the brain when somebody has anxiety. Okay, this is looking down on the brain, and then this is looking at the side of the brain. Now, it's really obvious right in through here. The red color means that there's lots of electrical activity. The green color means there's not as much. So what we see here is when somebody's having an anxiety attack, the frontal lobe really just shuts down. And there's the part of the brain inside the brain that is the fight or flight survival part that turns on. And so what you just described is exactly what happens. When somebody gets anxious and nervous, all of a sudden the fight or flight starts turning on, and then we want to flee the situation. Anybody ever get anxious and nervous and just want to leave?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Or
normal.
scared.
But you get scared. It's really a normal reaction. Yes? No? Okay, but you do too. Does that happen to you sometimes too? Yes. Okay,
It
good.
happens in my dreams.
Do you remember?
Like, well, that wasn't what I was talking about. But
Okay.
when you're like on the stage and you're like,
Yeah, stage fright. Stage fright. When you get up there and you see all those people and you go, oh my God, I forgot my lines. Well, guess where your lines were stored? Right there. Right, exactly. Those are where your stories are. That's where your frontal lobe is thinking and processing and problem solving. And so if we get really, really, really scared and anxious, we may forget some of that information for that moment, right? So it's important to know really good anxiety management techniques so we can turn that part of the brain back on. Yes, sir?
Yeah, I've had that a lot. Like when I'm going to like a doctor's appointment, I get nervous. But also my dreams make me scared because I wake up and I'm just like scared because the dream affected me and it turned that part of my head on.
Ah, absolutely, right? And then what helps you turn that part of your brain back on?
Coming back to reality, thinking this is not real, it's just a dream.
Okay, so you tell yourself this is not real, it's just a dream. And so what that does, it sounds like it calms this part of your brain down. It tells yourself, I'm okay, and this part turns back on and you can think again. Is that correct?
Yes, because I think people are coming in my room and they're not. So
In the dream, yes. Yes. Good example. Can you guys give these guys a round of applause? Okay. If you guys might remember from last time, we're going to play Use It or Lose It challenges, which means I'm going to ask all of your what? Frontal lobes, exactly, to think of an answer to a question, and then we will answer that and keep going on. So, challenge number 1. Does depression in teens look the same as depression in adults? What do you think?
No?
No, absolutely, it does not. What symptoms might you see in a teenager that you may not see in an adult who has depression? What do you think?
more drinking and like weapon stuff.
Weapons, maybe drinking, because they have more access to it since they're an adult. That's very perceptive, very smart. Anybody else can think of something? Yes.
Teens would normally like overeat or anything like that, or overdrink.
Overeat or overdrink because they don't have as much impulse control to say no to those things. Oh, I love that answer. Really smart, yes.
If you're a teenager going through this, you might have, later on, your brain might not grow to this full capacity later on.
Later
because of
on.
that.
Yeah. Oh, that is really perceptive. So if you don't treat some of these symptoms, your brain may not grow to its fullest potential.
Yeah.
Really smart. Very good. Yes, sir?
I wanted to say, I think it depends on gender sometimes, but one thing that happens in common is you rely sometimes more. Like, let's say, I remember I went through the depressive stage, and it was more like I was afraid to leave by myself, so it's like 24/7, I need like moral support.
Absolutely. And there are times when that's normal to go through that, right? And did you get it?
Yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
Thank goodness. Okay, let's talk about how teen depression can look different, okay? So, it's important to remember that sometimes teenagers get more irritable and angry when they're depressed. Right? Yeah. So you might get depressed, and instead of sitting around kind of sad and mopey, you might get more irritable and angry with anybody. Okay, by show of hands, is there anybody in here who that's happened to them? When they got depressed, they maybe got more irritable or angry. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for being honest. Okay, good. All right. Unexplained aches and pains.
Because of stories like Ryan's, there are two new words in our language. The first is cyberbullying, cruelty on the internet. The second is bullycide, which is when one child drives another to suicide.
And one of the things that we had learned after the fact was that last day at school, Ryan had gone out to a couple of kids that were giving him a hard time, and he had said to them, "Because of you, I want to kill myself."
It's a very sad story, isn't it?
Right.
Yes. I hope that a lot of you guys are feeling some empathy for Ryan and his family, and think about how hard that might be for his family to find him that morning. Now, that video was shot back in 2002. He was actually one of the first publicized cases of cyberbullying suicide, which is now known as bullycide. I want to show you a picture of this beautiful young lady. Her name is Brandy Vela, and she actually committed bullycide after being bullied. She's from Texas City. Does anybody know where Texas City is?
Yes.
Where's Texas City?
It's right by Galveston.
It's right by Galveston.
And my grandparents live there.
Oh, they do. So it's very sad to know that somebody really close to home last year died because they were bullied so much and didn't think that life was worth living. So it's important to remember that what we talked about earlier, the part of the brain that's not developed yet, that can't think through things, sometimes is really impulsive and does things that later, if they had survived it, they may have regretted doing. Okay, so use it or lose it challenge number 6. Let's talk a little bit about what stress is and what the top 5 stressors that teenagers deal with today. So, who can describe the first answer? What is stress?
The bullying is one.
Bullying
Because that,
causes stress.
I say that one kind of makes me really mad at people who do that. I think if they do that, I think they just ought to be in jail already. This is making people kill themselves. They just committed a murder, so they should just go to jail.
And you know what? There is a new law on the books that actually says that you can prosecute somebody's parents if they knew about it and didn't do anything. And there are a lot of different things that people can do to press charges against a bully that does that online and causes that behavior. Absolutely. So I like the way you're thinking. So stress can be caused by bullying. Can anybody in here define what stress is?
Too much at one time.
Too much at one time? Too much of what at one time? Yes.
Where the brain, stress is where it's an overwhelming response. Like if somebody said, okay, well I need you to do this, and your brain just can't process.
Oh, just too much to process.
You know.
Overwhelming. Both of you guys use those words, overwhelming. Exactly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what the top 5 stressors are for teens.
Survey says.
Survey says. Okay, who can do drum roll? Number 1 stressor in teens. Ding! Family problems. Okay, by show of hands, who agrees that that stresses you out the most? Family problems. Okay, a lot of you. I have to say that would be the number 1 stressor. Okay, ready to drum roll again? School! Oh my God, does school stress you guys out?
Yes!
They're all sitting behind you. Okay, drum roll please! Friends! Are friends really stressful, you guys?
No.
Yeah, sometimes they are.
Who thinks, let me ask you this, who thinks friends can be like both really wonderful but also really stressful?
Yeah.
Okay, right, yes. Look at those two. Okay, you ready? Drum roll! 4. Body image. What the heck does that mean? Yes.
Body image is when you look at a person and see the way they look at what they're doing, and it kind of stresses you out. Why are they like that? It kind of makes you impacted mad inside about what they look like or something.
Okay, what they look like or something? What do you think?
Body image is if I'm obese, for example. Let's say you don't like your body, and you think that most likely it's not going to happen. Somebody's going to make fun of you. You kind of get this idea, which can also cause like anorexia and stuff like that.
Yes, sure. So, and it can happen to anybody, no matter how much you weigh. Yeah. Too much or too little or just right. Sometimes if you look at your body and you think, oh, I don't look like they do, something's wrong with me. Is that an accurate assumption to make? No, because everybody looks different. And are we supposed to look different?
Yeah.
Yes. If if everybody looked the same, would the world be really, really boring?
Yes.
Totally, yes. Okay, last one. Romantic relationships. Now, really, what the heck is that? Yeah. Okay, what do you think?
A girlfriend that you went to, let's say Paris with, and you had a very nice romantic relationship and had a honeymoon in a nice restaurant, but then after the next day she wants to break up.
That would be really stressful.
Well, you can have a honeymoon period in a relationship, right? And then she wants to break up with you. I would be highly suspect of the quality of that individual. It sounds like she may wanted a free ride to Paris.
Yeah, she did.
Yes.
I'll take her to my Dodge Charger. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So these are the top 5 things that teenagers worry about. Now these differ from what adults worry about. What do you guys think number 1 stressor is for adults?
Money.
What do you agree?
Yes.
He's right. Give him a round of applause. Okay, we're going to talk about the difference between what stress does to our system. When we get really stressed, there's this hormone in our body called cortisol. Cortisol actually dampens the effect of dopamine in our body so that we can focus on what's going on in the world. Remember, dopamine is that chemical that makes us feel calm and happy. So when we're stressed, we're not supposed to feel as calm and happy. We're supposed to be really focused. But, unfortunately, if we don't have enough dopamine, we may feel depressed. We may feel anxious, or we may get cravings for comfort food. Does anybody get cravings for comfort food when you get stressed?
No.
No? No? Yes? 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 What are y'all's comfort food cravings?
Chocolate.
Desserts, sugar, chocolate.
Barbecue.
Starburst.
Let me show you mine. There's my comfort food right there.
Really, babe?
When I call my husband and say, honey, can we have crabs for dinner? He's like, oh, you had a bad day, didn't you?
That's too many calories.
It is. But it sure tastes good in that moment when I'm stressed. Okay, guess what, you guys? We are on the last Use It or Lose It challenge. Are you ready for it?
Ready.
Okay. What are healthy coping skills that reduce depression, anxiety, and turn the frontal lobe back on? Yes, sir.
Exercising.
Oh, exercising. That's my favorite one. Yes.
Trying to say nice things to
Nice.
help that person out.
To be nice and compassionate. It actually reduces their stress and whose stress? Your stress, right? Have you noticed that when you're nicer, that you're actually more relaxed? What do you think?
I would just have to say this one. I don't know if it does a lot, but I would guess maybe going to church and praying for what the stresses are in your life.
That's a very good one. What do you think?
Writing your expressing yourself.
Sometimes people do that in a journal and they call it journaling. Okay, here is a list of a bunch of different ones. I want everyone to read 3 out loud. Ready, set, go!
Workout.
Therapy.
Pray.
Very good. Yes. Let me share you with ones that are my favorite. I love to write in a journal. You got mine. I really love to do deep breathing. Everybody take a big deep breath. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Let it out.
That calms you.
Did it calm you? Okay, then everybody take one more deep breath. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Let it out. Did that calm you yet?
More.
I just hold my breath.
Smoking.
I really love to call a friend. It totally de-stresses me, right? When I call a friend and I'm like, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened, and then afterward I'm like, oh, all that stress and anxiety is gone. And
Okay.
then my most favorite one, somebody said it already. Guess what? It's to pray, right? Sometimes I ask my old HP, hey, help me get de-stressed, right?
My craving body likes me.
By the way, when you talk to someone and you talk about all that stuff that you had on you, and it leaves you, do you think it's going to go to them? Do you think you should start worrying about them?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I hope that they're able to talk to me back if it does.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good example.
I got a question.
Okay. Oh, before I go, okay.
What's grounding?
What's drowning? Oh, that's a Good. That's a really good question.
What do you ask?
What is grounding?
Oh, grounding.
Okay, so I'm going to take you guys through a grounding exercise. Are you ready?
Oh, dear.
Okay, right? I want everybody to put their feet flat on the ground. Can you feel the floor underneath your feet?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, can you feel the chair underneath your butt?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now I want everybody to take a deep breath and smell what you smell, depending upon who you're sitting next to.
I smell air. I don't really smell
Smell air?
it.
Okay, great. I want everybody to take a look around the room and see what you see. Do you see people? Do you see colors? Do you see light? Right. I want everybody in to focus on their hearing. What do you hear?
Silence.
Do you hear me talking?
Yeah!
Do you hear people shuffling? Do you hear that? Okay, now everybody focus on your taste. I got yellow in my mouth.
taste so good.
Do you have any like bad breath taste? Do you have, what do you taste in your mouth?
I taste mint.
There you go. Okay.
I taste just plain air. I don't taste.
I just grounded you guys on your 5
Senses.
Very good. Could you give him a round of applause? So sometimes when we're really stressed, like we get kind of disoriented and forget kind of where we are. And if you just sit and do some deep breathing and ground your 5 senses, it can help your brain calm down when you're anxious. And even yawning, which means it's a good sign. Right? That means it is. That means that you're actually having more oxygen to your brain. That's good. And even though technology can be really disconnecting, we actually know that there are some good apps out there that help you do grounding techniques and help you calm yourself down when you're feeling really sad or depressed. I actually have an app that helps me record and listen to my own positive affirmation back to me when I feel upset. And there was a hand back there that went up. Yes?
Oh, I just wanted to say that it's not up there, but for our skill building class, do you know when we do Go Noodle?
Yeah.
And we, remember when we bring it down, we bring the balloon down? Or when we make a rainbow? Any of those are like grounding exercises. So we already know how to do a lot of those.
And it's called what?
It's Go Noodle.
Go Noodle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds like
We're really high level. I mean, not to brag, but we are really high level.
Do you guys all agree y'all are really high level?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Could you give your teacher a round of applause? Okay, the last part of our presentation is when we have volunteers come up and are my frontal lobe superheroes. So I saw your hand go up right away. Are you ready to be a volunteer?
Yes.
Okay, so what's your name, sir?
I'm Kristen.
Christian, I'm Crystal. Good to meet you. Are you ready for your scenario?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Christian, if a friend told you they felt sad and depressed, Christian, what would you do?
I would help them or leave them alone until they're ready.
Good answer, you guys?
Nice. Yeah.
Okay, I need another frontal lobe superhero. Come on up. Okay, help me remember your name.
Seth is not tired from playing basketball.
Seth is not tired from playing basketball. It's Seth.
Yes.
And are you ready for your frontal lobe superhero scenario?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here it is. Number 2, Seth, if you felt so anxious and depressed because you were stressed, what would you do?
Go to a friend for a hug, pray to God, or I think I would just lay in bed and watch a movie.
Oh, I love how he's got a lot of variety of techniques to use. What do you guys think?
That'll help me.
It's a good one. Give him a round of applause. Does anybody else like really nice big bear hugs when they're feeling sad or depressed?
Yeah, I do.
Right? It depends on who they're from. Huh? Yeah. Great. Frontal lobe superhero, come on down.
Go on up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do this.
Okay, tell me what your name is. Jillian, I'm Crystal. Nice to meet you. Are you ready to be a frontal lobe superhero? Okay, good. Your scenario is, Jillian, if you knew that someone was feeling worthless, would side. Jillian, what would you do? Would you like a multiple choice answer help? Okay. Jillian, would you A, go tell an adult, B, sit and talk to them until they felt better, or, did I say C or B?
B.
A, B,
C.
and then C, maybe you could ask them over and help them distract their feelings by doing something fun together. A, B, or C? Or D, all of the above. Jillian, what would you do? C. Help me remember which one was C.
Nice.
Invite them over.
You would invite them over and do something fun?
Yeah.
Yes? Alright, could you guys give Julie? You think you're gonna you wanna be a Charlie? Okay, come on.
Yeah.
Okay, remind me of your name. Gabby. Nice to meet you. Are you ready to be a follow-up superhero? Okay, here's your scenario. Gabby, if you knew someone was being cyberbullied, that you saw it happen online and they felt really hopeless, Gabby, what would you do?
I would go over to their house and deal with it.
Could you turn so they can hear you?
And I would probably like shut down their computer and like get off their ground and destroy it.
You would go over their house and shut down their computer and destroy it.
What?
No, that would be
Scenario. It's like a mad.
Well, it may not be great to destroy their computer, but I really like your idea of shutting it off. Oh, you would delete, like, just get them off social media. Let's shut down that social media account. What do you guys think? Good idea?
Yeah.
All right, final little superheroes. Come on down.
Hello guys, my name is Alex.
Alex, Crystal, good to meet you. Are you ready to be a final little superhero?
Oh yeah, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, very good. Your scenario is, Alex, what stresses you out the most? And then two-part question, what is one positive and one negative way that you deal with that stress? So first of all, what stresses you out the most?
My twin brother, he has epilepsy.
So you get scared and worried about him when
Yeah.
he has seizures?
Yeah.
Okay, that stresses you out the most. Now what's one positive thing that you do to deal with that?
Well, just talk to him, hang out with him more, and make sure he's more active.
Okay, and what's sometimes a negative thing that you do when you get stressed? Sometimes you punch him when you're stressed with him.
No, like throw him under the bus because I'm so mad.
Oh, you throw him under the bus because you get so mad at him.
Figuratively.
Figuratively, not literally, yes. You guys, do you think Alex was being really honest with us today?
Yeah. I think so.
I do too. Give him a round of applause. Okay, I need another final little superhero. Come on down.
All right, Dan. Yeah, Daniel Whitney.
Go Daniel!
Price is right.
Come on down. You can tell when I was born, right? What my era was. Exactly. It's him time. Okay. What is your name? Daniel and Crystal. Good to meet you. Are you ready to be a frontal lobe superhero?
I am.
Okay, you ready for your scenario?
Yeah.
Okay, here's your scenario. Daniel, what is your favorite coping mechanism to use when you are sad? And then, what is a favorite that you use when you're anxious? Two-part question. So how about when you're sad? What do you do to cope?
Let's see, I go to the sink and put salt on my face just so I'm calm and relaxed.
Like cold water or warm water?
Cold.
Cold water on your face and it calms you and relaxes you?
Like if I use the tissue just to clean out the eyes, so.
Okay, I love that.
No.
How about when you're anxious?
Anxious.
When you're a little nervous, what do you do to calm down?
Like breathing in, breathing out.
Breathing in and breathing out. Everybody take a deep breath with Daniel. Hold Let it go. Do you like Daniel's answers?
Yeah.
You guys, that is the end of our presentation, which makes me really sad because I won't see you for a while, but I just want to thank you all for participating. Before you go, it's very important that if you guys experience sadness or depression, that you get the help that you need. And especially if you or somebody that you know talks about or maybe hints about suicide, then make sure that you actually go to an adult to help. Now I want the adults in the room to please stand up. And I want you all to see that these guys care a lot about you. And they're all here and ready to help you if anybody felt sad or depressed. Is that correct, you guys?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, could you give them a round of applause? All right, good job. Where should they go next?
What time is it?
I don't know.
Lunchtime.
Woo!
Lunchtime. Good night, guys.
Thank you.